Alright, everybody. It is about 2:30 in the morning. Um, I woke up and wanted to check on this while I was awake, and I came out, and the pork is starting to change color again. We're getting a darker color. So I'm going to go ahead and drain off as much of this as I can. You don't want your fat to really start to cook, because that then infuses that really porky flavor to your lard. You just want it to melt down, and this is obviously starting to cook down. So I'm going to go ahead and drain off what I can of this to try and keep that really porky flavor out of the lard. And then I'll leave the rest to cook down. We'll have cracklings and some really pork flavored grease, which will be more like a bacon grease. But that'll be great to use on cast irons anytime you're frying any kind of meat or anything like that. But for the actual rendered lard, you don't want that flavor in there. So I'm going to go ahead and drain off as much of this as I can. And I will check in with you guys in the daytime. Alright, everybody, this is what I came out with. I got 2 big quart jars and 1 little half-pint jar strained out of the roaster. So there's where we're at with that. Hopefully by morning this will be set and nice and clean and white, and the other stuff will be cooked up and ready to be emptied. But this is where we ended up with the clean lard, and then what we get out tomorrow will be, like I said, more of a porky flavor, which is just not what you want if you're making a apple pie. So I will check in with you guys tomorrow. Have a good night. Good morning, everyone. Now that I'm a little more awake, I wanted to show you guys. There's our 2 quarts and our half pint of grade A lard that I drained off last night. They have settled, they have set, they are white, they are gorgeous. And I am excited to have this throughout the winter to bake biscuits and pies and all that kind of good stuff. We do still have the rest of it in the roaster cooking down. It is pretty much as cooked down as it's going to get. This lard is obviously still going to be usable. Sorry, it's dark. It's just going to be used more for cooking meat than it is going to be for cooking anything sweet. It can be used in biscuits and that type of thing, and that won't affect it any. Like I said, it's just a little bit darker. It'll have to be strained a little extra. But this is where we stand with the lard. I'm getting ready to drain this off and get it in jars. I'll check in with you guys later. Alright, everybody, I need to throw in a quick correction here. Leaf lard, because it comes from the internal organs, does not tend to leave any kind of porky flavor in your lard. Something I learned. I know typically when you're rendering lard, if you're using the back fat, you do have to worry about cooking it too long and getting that really porky flavor. But I've been corrected, and it has been explained to me that because there is very little meat attached to the leaf lard, you generally will not get that porky flavor in the lard. So I learned something, thought I'd share with you guys.
Okay, so yesterday I started trying to separate out some of the cherry pile back there against the wall so that I could work on getting some stuff cut for our door. But Mr. Brown brought up a good point. That cherry is still wet, so it still needs to dry. and as it dries, it's going to shrink. Well, we don't really want the gaps, so instead of going with those boards, I need to get into these and start seeing what I can get out of there and what kind of good material there still is in them. So that's where I'm at the moment. Okay, so currently we're sitting on extra boards for what we need between that pile right here, what has already been planed, some of which has already been stained, these which still need planed, these that still need a little bit of planing, and what's sitting right there. But I'm going to start on the planing. Mr. Brown did what he could with the 40 minutes that he had. But I'm going to get going on it so that, well, more of it's ready for the actual construction part of the doors. Alright. Well, Bryn's out here now working on doing the oiling and staining. All of the boards currently that were cut to the right size are now planed, and now I'm moving on to the boards that are slightly undercut. Well, technically they were cut-offs, but they're so close in length, or width. Gonna get those planed up and we can use those for the diagonals. But that's where we're at so far. Alright, so all the boards right here are the right width for framing and all of that for the doors. The boards over here are just I want to say between an 1/8 and a 1/16 of an inch short of that. So keeping those separate, but they have all been split, planed, and stained.
But the fun part is when you get a hole in your gloves and you have to take off your gloves, this is what happens to your hands.
Can't really see that.
My hands are all pink.
There you go. Well, I'm kind of hitting a roadblock at the moment. The boards are still wet with the stain, so that kind of narrows down my ability to go through and start pre-cutting to make things easier for tomorrow, at least at the moment. But I do have one board already cut for size. Unfortunately, that was also pre-stained. So if I use that one, it won't actually match the rest of them, which is problematic in itself. So I think I'm at a bit of a standstill for the moment. But did get quite a few things done in here today, so, well, we got something done today. But that's pretty much where I got to stop at the moment.
Bear decided to play tag with some friends across the street. I don't know how well you can see in the video, but that is 2 large buck. Alright, I'm going to end this video a little differently today. We got the lard all handled yesterday. Mike and Bryn did a lot of work out in the shop getting wood prepared to be able to make our doors for the rest of the house, including our bedroom, and then the doors that'll block off the pantry and the stairway that goes upstairs. And also, I believe, working on stuff for... I don't think they worked on anything for the basement today. But I wanted to have a little bit of a discussion today about grace. Having grace for yourself and having grace for other people. I am very hard on myself. I tend to feel like I'm letting myself down and letting everyone else around me down when I don't get everything accomplished. And I have had to learn a lot over the years to, one, say no when something is just not possible in my day. And two, to give myself the grace to say, well, it's not going to happen today, but I can get it done tomorrow or the next day. It has taken a lot for me to learn to let things go and just let things go and give myself the grace to learn and move on. I've also had to learn to have grace for other people. And what I mean by that is you never know what's going on in somebody else's life unless they're sharing every detail, which nobody does. You don't know. So if somebody's having a bad day, if somebody's frustrated, if somebody's angry, if somebody's treating you poorly, try to remember to have grace for those people, because they may be dealing with something on the inside in their heart that is just struggling to make it through the day. So remember to have grace for everyone around you. It's really what our world needs right now, is to remember to have grace for those around us. And lastly, we need to remember to have grace for our children. Children can be very frustrating. They are learning to be adults. We are here to teach them. Children do what they are directed to do. Children do what they are taught. And children will do what they are shown. They rely on us as adults to give them a little bit of grace, because mistakes happen and accidents happen, and we can't just be angry at them for the silliest little things. Ew, fly. So please remember that as you're going through your day, as you're interacting with other people, as you're interacting with kids, to have grace and know that everyone is dealing with something more than you know. And we must remember to have grace. Everyone have a great day, and we'll catch you tomorrow.